Hi, I'm Dana, and this is a Morey Moment with our president, Ryne DeBoer. Ryne, thank you so much for taking time right now to have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
So one of the things that I think you articulate better than anyone else is your view of the world in a macro sense. When you're looking at the various markets and parsing those out, you've kind of come up with I think, a really tight package of understanding that. Would you talk about that for a second?
Yes, I'd love to. So I think the thing that comes to my mind when you ask me that question is it's 2022, and over the course of the last 5 to 10 centuries, there's been a few megatrends, right? And so the most famous or most world-changing was the Industrial Revolution. And when you look at the Industrial Revolution and the impact it had on the planet, you almost could make a pre- and post-Industrial Revolution time frame.
Yes.
And I think about the times that we live in now. You could do the same thing with the pre- and post-automobile, the pre- and post-internet. And that was the internet of people and email and connecting people that used to be able to go golfing in the afternoon. Now they are known where they are. And then cell phones and what that's done. But the Internet of Things, connecting things to the internet is, I believe, more transformative than all of the above. And if you're lucky enough to have one of those mega trends happen in your life, and you happen to be able to have a purpose, a vision, values, and an offering that can capitalize on that mega trend, some real magic can happen.
Yeah.
And so you look at Morey, and given that we go back to 1934 and World War II environment, first projects that your grandfather was working on was radio test sets for the Signal Corps and service to World War II effort. Wireless has been a part of our history going all the way back to then. And if you look at a mega trend and be able to ride that wave, I think our purpose of enriching people's lives is pretty easy to achieve.
Right on. So we've got this phrase that we use all of the time, which is smart connected solutions.
Yep.
So somebody's sitting out there going, well, what do you mean? What is a smart connected solution?
So what I believe a smart connected solution is it's a piece of technology that's trying to emulate or replace what human beings were born with. And human beings were born with the ability to sense things. You know, we have our 5 senses. Yeah. Some think 6. We have our brain and our ability to think and our ability to be creative, like our Creator, which is, I think, the essence of humanity. Is the difference that makes the difference is we're able to be creative. So you have the smarts, and so smarts, sensors, and connectivity. So smart connected solutions requires smarts, sensors, and connectivity. And so a sensor could be a light detection, a gas detection, movement, all kinds of different things. And the smarts, or the compute power, in this case, in a piece of electronics, is a microprocessor or some kind of a high power processor. It really doesn't matter. It's the smarts part. It's the smart connected solution requires the ability to compute something. So you're drawing on information out in the world, and then you're drawing meaningful insights from those things that you're sensing. And then connectivity, or smart connected, is pretty easy. You're either communicating something locally, or you're communicating something far away. So far away or wide area network is stuff that we understand. We all have cell phones. Every person on the planet's got a cell phone, basically. The local area stuff's easy too, because we all use Bluetooth devices and Wi-Fi in our homes or in the office or out in the world every day of the week. So a smart connected solution is transformative because it can be put anywhere. And whether it's big or small, what I think is so cool about it is it emulates what human beings do, and we can expand our scope exponentially to places that you just could never get to before.
So talk a little bit about, I'd love to hear you talk about how smart connected solutions or examples of smart connected solutions that genuinely enrich people's lives.
So some of the things that come to mind that we could relate to, a number that I've heard is 30% of food does not make it from farm to fork. So if you think about one of the most pivotal things in a world of inflation and geopolitical issues and folks that are really struggling to put food on the table, a smart connected solution that lives in a field or a farm that ensures that the yield is really good and then is harvested at the right moment, gathered and stored, and then shipped to the right location seamlessly. If that 30% could turn into 10%, or that 10% could turn into 5%, or that 1% turned into fractions of a percent, as a result of all different kinds of IoT devices that are ensuring that those food items or those animals or milk or eggs or any of the stuff that really moves the needle. Imagine if we had 30% fallout on our manufacturing floor. Would we accept that?
We wouldn't accept it, and we couldn't survive.
And so in the case of 30% of food does not make it from farm to fork, a smart connected solution, in my opinion, could exponentially enrich people's lives by solving that problem.
Yeah, that is a great answer. So Ryan, something else that I love the way that you articulate, and that is the vision that we have as a company.
Yep.
We put some big numbers out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd love for you to talk about that vision.
Yeah, so you know the journey a few years back when we really wanted to put together a comprehensive purpose, vision, values, 10-year plan that we could rally the whole company around, along with aligning everyone in the company to a measurable and goals,
Yeah.
not just yearly, but quarterly, that all cascade down from a bigger North Star. And as it's said, without vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
And without clarity of purpose, as it's been said by famous guys like Simon Sinek, the greatest companies on the planet know why they exist. We put together a vision for the company, which is to be known as the best industrial IoT brand on the planet. And why would we want to lead a company that's not the best place to work? And we put out a growth number or a growth goal of 500 million, which at this point I think may be even too small.
I agree.
But you also have to be realistic enough for people that don't have all the data points from a guy like me who's been on the road for years and has been out in the market and has been able to really see the art of the possible. We've put that vision out there because it's important to have growth. And I also think we both agree with this. To really impact the planet for good, you have to have influence and a scope that matters.
Yes.
And so, we really do believe in our purpose, which is enriching people's lives. We know that the mega trend of IoT and smart connected solutions is big enough to outlive me for sure. And probably my kids. I just think that the world is going to become increasingly digital as time goes by, and being in that kind of a mega trend puts us in a position to last another 100 years or hundreds of years. And beyond that, I think it puts us in a position to sow into our purpose, which is enriching people's lives, our fellow coworkers, our employees, our partners, our customers, our vendors, and then with the profits that we're able to generate, be able to give back.
Ryan, my favorite quote, and it goes back to geometry in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Holmes had a sign above his chalkboard that said, the man who says it can't be done is likely to be interrupted by somebody doing it.
Yep, that's good truth.
And I think that we're living in a world where there's so much negativity and so much naysaying. And you have this phrase, which is the art of the possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love for you to talk about how you see the world, because I know you really well.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the world through a lens of what's possible. And it doesn't, you talk about that.
There's so many things that went through my mind when you said it, thinking of being a little kid and watching superheroes, or thinking about being Batman or Bruce Wayne or whatever. I mean, that sounds so cheesy when I say it, but you play the tape forward, and I get to see some things that happen in my life that, just growing up in Chicago in America, you just can't really believe it. So good examples are the internet becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And what happens as a result of the internet becoming a thing. And then social networks becoming a thing. And going, wait a minute, people are going to willingly put themselves on the internet? That's weird. And thinking about what that does. And then watching Steve Jobs do what he did and pull together the magic that is iTunes and an iPod and an iPhone and an iPad, and now, theoretically, an iWatch. And then, I could give 100 other versions of that, but most recently, Elon Musk, real life Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And go, wow, man, that guy's doing that. And going back to when I was a little kid, I always just dreamed of doing really crazy stuff. And when you watch others do it, and maybe I had a little bit of a strange childhood or upbringing that put me in a unique position to just believe that anything was possible, and then spend time with other people in the world that are extremely bright and talented, and you start to go, they're not all that bright. Maybe I can do that too. And I talk about Andy Stanley a lot, which if he ever sees this video, Andy. But he told a story once. He's a great storyteller. And he said, have you ever been at a friend's house that's rich? And I don't mean rich, like driving nice cars, or they might even they got a plane rich or a helicopter rich. And you're there for dinner, and you and your wife get back into your car to go home, and you think, they're not all that bright, are they? But after you and your wife leave and you say, they're not all that bright, you've already talked yourself out of what they did as being too risky or a bad idea or not possible, and you go back to what you did before. And so that story from Andy, and I don't know if it's his or someone else's, but if you think about the difference between Jobs or Elon or my buddy Willie Schlacks with the Equipment Share team, they just believed.
Yeah.
And I really think that the art of the possible comes down to seeing things differently, having faith that stuff can happen that you never saw coming, and then really just open your eyes to the fact that anything really can be done if you put your mind to it.
And if you believe it.
Dana, you've met a lot of interesting people in your life. And what do you think sticks out to you the most when you recognize someone that has real talent or potential?
It's really interesting, Ryan, because so many people want to look at a resume. They want to know how far they've been in college. Mm-hmm. They want to know if they've got degrees beyond a bachelor's degree. And, I grew up in an environment where two of my dad's best friends didn't make it through high school. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you the story of one of them. He finds out, he had a company, he started from scratch. Again, no high school education, starts a company, they're selling fire alarms,
Mhm.
smoke alarms. Company's modestly successful. He sells it when he finds out that they're going to go off the gold standard. So he sells his company. He takes every penny he has and he buys gold at $30 an ounce.
Wow.
And within a half a year, he's 10x'd his money. So he moves to Southern California and he looks around and he sees that land is cheap and he buys huge, huge swaths of Orange County.
Wow.
Another buddy of my father's that bought and sold companies, again, never graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
I watched these guys build these organizations and they had something that was special. It wasn't something necessarily that can be taught in a school.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that came from the inside. And you talk about it when you use that phrase, the art of the possible.
Mm-hmm.
But they had this idea that this thing can be done. And if it can be done, why can't I be the guy to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about the kind of people that we want to attract,
Mm-hmm.
I want to attract dreamers. I want to attract people that think they can do anything.
I agree.
One of the greatest compliments somebody ever gave me is we were driving down the road and they said something. And I said, well, I think I could do that. And she turns to me and she said, Dana, you think you could do anything. and I didn't take it as an insult. And it wasn't intended to be, honestly. I was like, well, thank you.
Yeah, that's a compliment.
And maybe I can or maybe I can't. But I know if I believe that I can, my odds have gone up exponentially. And so really, I am looking for people. I don't care where they've been to school. I don't care about their pedigree. I'm interested in their character. I'm interested in their heart. I'm interested if they've got grit
Mm-hmm.
and if they have the ability to believe something and then just dig their heels in until they get it. And man, that's what I'm seeing. Those are the kinds of people that I'm seeing coming to our company. I can't wait to see the mountains these people climb.
Yeah, I totally agree. The thing that I think is a superpower also is curiosity.
Yeah.
So the series of questions that those gentlemen ask themselves in that process is fascinating to me, because think of all the questions that they had to ask themselves in a row to make that decision.
Yep.
So I totally agree. That's amazing.
Ryan, one of the things that I've watched you interact with or interface with
Mm-hmm.
on a whole bunch of different occasions, and I always love your response, and that is when somebody implies in any way, you're never going to pull this off. I see something in you that rises up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the world is looking for people that believe in something. And there are people that want to be a part of a team that is being led by people that really won't take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it when I see that in you. And what is driving that?
That's a great question. What comes to my mind is I really admire champions.
Yeah.
And I really admire people that pull off the win when you're not supposed to. I think that probably is one of my favorite memories as a child, is watching Jordan do what he did. Mm-hmm. And just being a kid in Chicago, we were so lucky to be able to have that as nightly entertainment. But you look at others like that, whether it be Tom Brady, recent history, or even maybe not the GOATs like those guys, Peyton Manning, Kobe Bryant. There's champions are champions. And I think that one of the things that is just the coolest is when energy is at 1,000, noise is at 120 or 150 decibels or whatever the right number is. I'm not a sound engineer. But my dad always had really loud boats, so the police would pull us over and we'd have to actually take decibel levels of these mufflers. So I have a little bit of experience with it. And
you like horsepower.
Yeah, and I like horsepower. But I always wanted to be like that. I just watched it and was like, what would I be like if I was there right now? If I'm on the field in that moment, am I going to pass the ball or do I want the ball? Am I going to shoot for the win or am I going to chicken out? Am I going to believe that I'm going to win or am I going to believe that I'm going to lose? And nowadays, it looks like trying to win big business deals or pull off strategic partnerships or save our day when it comes to finding a part that we're missing or whatever. But the variables are the same. You have a situation, you're in it, whether it's the pitch is thrown and you hit the ball out of the park, or you throw the ball down the sideline into the end zone, or you hit the game-winning shot in Utah, and you ride off into the history books. All of it is based on a series of things, which is you have circumstances and what are you going to do about it in the moment?
So when you're looking at people that want to come to work at the Morey Corporation, and they come in, they sit down across the table from you, what are you looking for?
So I'm a huge fan of Patrick Lencioni. So I obviously have my own spin on what I'm looking for,
Sure.
But what he says an ideal team player is someone that is humble, hungry, and smart. And so humble is self-explanatory. Having humility to inspire a group or people or a team, or not taking all the credit of, or having to take your humble pie when you screw up and you own up to it. Hungry is that drive to win that I see in a lot of our teammates.
Yep.
I'd name them all, but I would think I'd maybe miss somebody or I'd embarrass them. And then smart is really, I think, less about how much you know, but your willingness to learn.
Yeah.
And I think growing up as a kid, I think one of the things that was strange to me when I got older was like all these teachers and adults talked about like you learned this much and then it kind of ended. And that's how smart you were based on your grades or your SAT or ACT. And then I know a ton of people that were brilliant that 30 years later were still the same brilliant. And then I know a ton of people that were curious and lifelong learners that went on to do stuff that you just never saw coming.
So curious is another one.
Yeah, being curious, I think, is huge. I try to inspire my kids to be curious because I think curiosity is the inception. It's the inception of creativity. Yeah. You have to actually be curious about something to want to do something that's never been done before.
Well, Ryne, thank you. It's really, I always love talking with you, which of course we're doing all the time, but here in this setting, it's great. I really appreciate you. Yeah,
I appreciate you too. And it's a pleasure to fight for the future together.
That was another Morey Moment.